Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. I'm Sienna Rose. Today we are talking about spiritual awakening, what it is, and 5 signs that it is happening for you right now. Spiritual awakening is the realization that you are more than just your ego self. Your ego self is the character that you've been assigned or born as for your life on earth. This means that you are so much more than your thoughts, your feelings, your personality traits, your physical appearance, things like that. It is the melting away of the notion that you are a separate being from everyone and everything else. All living beings are connected to a single living oneness, a source that provides the life force energy that we all thrive on. A common thing that some people notice when they start awakening is that they begin to notice people as the spiritual beings that they are. And that they start seeing the light. They start noticing more often the light, the good in other people. Your sense of empathy can really strengthen during a spiritual awakening as you realize that we are all connected and that what we do to others, we do to ourselves. It is a shift in perspective. You may no longer view your life or the world around you the same as you once had. You may start to reevaluate subconscious programming or core beliefs that you've held for God knows how long. So for example, you might start seeing some of life's challenges as opportunities for growth, as opposed to reason to panic or reason to think that everything is falling apart and that everything is going to suck and it's going to be like this forever. Spiritual awakening is a lifelong journey of your soul's growth and development. But you are now becoming aware of this process, and you will start remembering more about who you are as a spiritual being. All right, now that we've had a simple look at what spiritual awakening is, I think we're ready to move on to 5 of many signs that this process is happening in your life. You're questioning the world around you. We talked about a shift in perspective a moment ago, and this is something that many people start going through as they awaken. Lots of people end up asking, why are things the way they are? Life as you knew it might be making less and less sense now, as you call into question things like your culture's social norms, economic or political systems, or other kinds of social constructs around you. You might find yourself wondering about the purpose of life and why we've come to Earth in the first place. Usually by this point, people have realized that we're not just born to work, pay bills, and then die. You're hungry for more information or ideas on why we live, why we have experiences, and what happens when our life is through. You might just have this inner knowing that there is more to life than what we see and experience through the body's physical senses. While that stuff is important to the Earth experience, it is not be all end all. There's a lot that your soul knows, but you yourself are just starting to remember. The opening up of psychic abilities. I'm going to start this one off by saying that everyone is connected to source, to spirit. Therefore, everyone is able to connect and receive information in various ways. Even though we are in a human body, we are still spiritual beings, so it would make sense that we have the capabilities of a spiritual being. When you open up your mind more and more to concepts like spiritual beings and psychic skills, it actually makes it easier to entertain ideas such as, well, maybe that really was a spirit guide visiting me in my dream. Or maybe that really was my loved one who passed away trying to contact me. If you intend to develop your psychic abilities, they will grow. You have to practice, but they will grow. If you don't, then they probably won't. Some people have more dramatic experiences with this, such as seeing a ghost or an earthbound spirit, or suddenly astral projecting, leaving the body while having a nap or something. I will acknowledge that those kind of things can happen, and they do happen to some people and can potentially be the trigger for a spiritual awakening. However, I find that psychic abilities tend to come on more subtly at first. For example, you might find that your intuition is stronger or that you're hearing it more. You might come across somebody and get a little spidey sense on whether they're trustworthy or sketchy. You might get the feeling or the idea that you should call and check up on someone, only to find that when you do, they actually do need help in some way. Or what I find sometimes is I think about somebody and they usually end up texting me. You may find that you're able to know who's calling before you even pull out your phone and look. My personal favorite of these subtle psychic senses is when I started noticing that I'd always get a strong urge to look at the microwave while it was cooking and while I was doing something else at the same time. I would get this really strong feeling to look at the time on the microwave. And every time I would get that feeling and look, the timer would be at 2 or 1 or just about to go off. Usually ends up being within 5 seconds of the timer going off. So the opening up of psychic abilities is a very, very clear sign that you're going through a spiritual awakening. And like I said, over time, psychic abilities can become stronger if you choose to work with them. The third sign is that you start receiving spiritual contact. This can happen while you're awake and doing stuff, but more often than not, it happens when you are meditating or sleeping or just otherwise in a very relaxed state. Spirit visitations often happen during the dream state or while a person is in the hypnagogic state of consciousness, so just falling asleep at night or just barely waking up in the morning. You may start getting visions while you're awake, or lucid or very vivid dreams at night while you're asleep. This would be an example of clairvoyance, seeing in your mind's eye something spirit is showing you. You might hear messages in the mind similar to hearing a book character's voice when reading dialogue in a story. You might get the sense of the feelings and emotions tied to a certain person or event through experiencing it like it's your own. Sometimes you can pick up on physical sensations. That's called clairsentience, clear feeling. Sometimes spirit just drops ideas and concepts into your mind without having any physical proof. You just know that you know something, and you just know that somehow it's true. That's claircognizance or clairknowing. And afterwards, whether awake or asleep when it came through, you feel as though the experience was real. You might end up having a few doubts as your mind, the ego self, tries putting its own filters on it, tries figuring out what happened from its own limited understanding. But the point remains that it felt real while it was happening. I suppose this list item goes hand in hand with item 2, with the awakening of the subtle psychic senses. As your psychic skills become stronger, you will find that you receive information from spirit through the mind's eye, again, clairvoyance, the mind's ears, clairaudience, or through physical or emotional sensations, clairsentience. There are other ways to pick up spiritual information. For instance, there is clairalience, which I think is being able to smell things from from spirit, and clairgustance, which is being able to taste things from spirit. I think those are a little bit less common than the 3 that I showed you in this point. But if you start noticing that you're receiving spiritual information a lot easier than you used to, or if you have never received spiritual information before and now you're starting to sort of become inundated with it, very, very clear sign that you're going through a spiritual awakening. Synchronicities start popping up everywhere. They can be quite dramatic and obvious, or they might be subtle and trickier to spot. But be aware that they are not mere coincidences. It is the universe or spirit trying to get your attention to pass along a message. There are so many juicy examples of synchronicities you might be seeing. Okay, you might find that lately you've been ending up in the right place at the right time a lot. Or maybe you're constantly noticing matching or sequential letters and numbers everywhere. You might see times on the clock like 11:11, 12:12, 1:11, 2:22, 1:23, etc. Maybe you start thinking of someone, like I'd mentioned earlier, you start thinking about someone and suddenly, poof, they get into contact with you. Maybe you're finding things like feathers, coins, buttons, or a certain type of animal or insect all over the place. Keep track of these weird little things that you notice, because there could be a pattern to them that might have a special meaning for you. You can also start assigning your own meanings to these kind of things, such as, for example, finding feathers on the ground might mean that a guardian angel is around you. You might start assigning different meanings to different colors of feathers or different colors of pebbles or things like that that come across your path. Spirit will work with you and will send you information in ways that you will understand. And finally, number 5, maybe the most dramatic of these, that your likes and interests start to change. You might become more interested in self-care activities such as going for walks or meditating or practicing yoga or other kinds of exercise. Some people like to learn about and turn to energy healing, methods such as Reiki or Qigong. Often people will become more interested in helping others. For instance, you might go from being consumed by work and money, and you might have spent years just running on that hamster wheel of gotta go to work, gotta make money, gotta pay my bills, gotta save up, gotta move up in the corporate realm. And really, not that there's really anything wrong with enjoying your work and having enough money to pay bills and live comfortably. It is okay to have those concerns sometimes, but maybe you go from being like really obsessed with that to maybe using a weekend to volunteer for things that will help others in the community. It's just an example. I've had a couple of people tell me actually that they went from soaking up reality TV and Instagram and Facebook and keeping up with every single like latest trend and meme that they were shown to actually putting the phone down and scrolling a little bit less and watching. They had kind of turned to watching more educational content. Sometimes just shutting off the TV or the computer altogether. I know for me, it was very strange because I went through my early 20s thinking, I love teaching, I love children, I love daycare, I'm going to be a daycare teacher for the rest of my life, and I like, I'm gonna find a center that I like, and eventually I'll get married and I'll have my own babies and they'll come to the daycare with me, and I had everything like all planned out. And then in the last like year or so, that started to shift. I started to feel like, you know what? I'm actually really exhausted with this line of work. And I wasn't teaching daycare in the last few months, mostly because of COVID, during the time of recording, but I was still working in childcare, but I started to feel like it resonated less and less with me. And that was kind of alarming, because I still love children and I love babies. I love to learn about them. I love talking to them, teaching them, watching their development. But I started to feel like I no longer wanted to pursue that type of career, at least not right now. And I started feeling more drawn to my tarot clients, my Reiki clients. And then the universe sort of cleared a path and was like, hey, there's an opportunity to leave. You know, we're setting up this opportunity. You're going to leave that childcare job and you are going to start focusing on being a psychic, and you're going to start focusing on being a tarot reader, a energy healer, a YouTuber. And I'm really happy with the path that I'm going now. It's completely different in my mid-20s than I thought I would be even just a few years ago. But this has been part of my awakening process personally, and I'm sure that there are others of you out there who maybe resonate with my story, not necessarily childcare, going from childcare to energy healing and psychic work, but just a very sudden or just a random change. And to people on the outside, they might be thinking, what the heck is wrong with you? What has gotten into you? Because they don't understand maybe what you're going through, but you do. You know that you just feel like you're being led to down different paths in life. And that's okay. This is just part of the process. It's just part of this beautiful change and growth process. So that was today's look at spiritual awakening and the 5 of many signs that you're going through it. There are definitely more than just 5. So be on the lookout for a part 2 to this video at some point in the future. In the meantime, I'd like to hear from you. How did you know you were going through a spiritual awakening? What kind of signs did you start getting? Feel free to talk about it in the comment section. I want to know. I'm sure other people want to know. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Sienna Rose Metaphysical. So you hit that thumbs up, hit the bell icon if you want to be notified whenever I make a video like this or go live or make some kind of a community post. And with that, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next upload.